Teeth beneath the orchard. I still remember the day I left. The air was thick with the scent of blooming apple trees, but all I could smell was the bitterness of betrayal. "You'll lose your mind," my mother said, her voice dripping with disdain. "This obsession with fungi, it's unhealthy." My father's laughter echoed in my ears, a cruel symphony punctuating my resolve. "Delusional," he'd called me. "You'll disgrace this family." I had been a pest control inspector, but after they accused me of poisoning the town's well, an accusation born from jealousy and fear, I found solace in the shadows of abandoned orchards. They were my refuge, my sanctuaries, and my classrooms. I dove deep into the world of parasitic fungal toxicology, chasing knowledge that others dismissed as folklore. I was drawn to the legends of the orchards, stories of trees that fed on lost souls. As I researched, I uncovered secrets that lay beneath the surface. Roots entwined with darkness. Years passed, and I became a name whispered in hushed tones, a figure of both fear and fascination. I was no longer the disgrace they had cast me as, but a warning. My findings had exposed the horrors that lurked within the soil, the predatory fungi that fed not just on decay, but on the very essence of life. I had survived what they could never fathom, and now I stood at the precipice of returning home, not as the broken girl they had shunned, but as a harbinger of truth. The drive to my childhood home felt surreal. The familiar landmarks passed by in a blur, memories flooding back like unwelcome ghosts. I could almost hear their laughter, the mockery that had once stung like a slap. But now I felt only a cold resolve. I had come to show them what they had so vehemently denied. When I arrived, the orchard was as I remembered, lush and vibrant, yet shrouded in an unsettling stillness. My family's house loomed in the distance, a relic of my past. As I parked the car and stepped out, the air felt charged, electric with the weight of unspoken words. I hesitated, the familiar ache of anxiety creeping in, but I couldn't turn back. I had to confront the very people who had driven me into the dark. They were gathered on the porch, and as I approached, I could see their expressions shift from surprise to confusion and finally to disbelief. "What are you doing here?" my brother spat, the venom in his voice unmistakable. "We thought you dropped off the face of the earth." "I've come to talk," I said, forcing the words past the knot in my throat. "I found something you need to see." Their laughter echoed again, a cruel reminder of the past. "Still chasing ghosts, are you?" My father's voice dripped with scorn. "You've wasted your life." But I stood firm, the shadows of my experiences swirling around me. "You don't understand. The orchards, they're—" Before I could finish, a low rumble resonated beneath our feet, a tremor that made the ground shudder. My family's laughter faded, replaced by a dawning horror. "What is happening?" my mother gasped, clutching her chest as she struggled to maintain her composure. "It's the orchards," I said, my voice rising above the growing cacophony. "They're waking up!" As if summoned by my words, the trees began to sway, their branches twisting unnaturally. Dark tendrils of fungi burst forth from the ground, twisting around the roots, reaching for the sky like hungry fingers. The air thickened with an earthy, sickly sweet odor, a miasma that choked and clotted our throats. "Run!" I shouted, but my family stood frozen in place, eyes wide with terror. I could see the realization dawning upon them, the understanding of how wrong they had been. The very thing they had laughed at, dismissed as insanity, was now spilling forth from the earth alive, ravenous and terrifying. The ground split open, revealing a churning mass of dark soil and writhing mycelium, a grotesque display of nature's hunger for life. "You mocked me," I said, my voice barely above a whisper as I stepped closer to the chaos. "You laughed at what you didn't understand." In that moment, the trees seemed to whisper, their branches rustling with secrets long buried. The dark fungi surged forward, creeping towards my family, and I felt a pang of something. Was it pity? They had refused to see the truth, to listen to my warnings. Now they were the prey of their own ignorance. "Please no," my mother screamed, her voice cracking as she stumbled back, only to be ensnared by a creeping vine. It wrapped around her ankle, pulling her down into the earth where the shadows beckoned. My brother yelled, but the ground began to swallow him too, the roots tightening around him like a vice. I stood there, watching as the very thing I had uncovered devoured the remnants of my past. The darkness that had once isolated me now enveloped them, and I felt a strange sense of release. The truth I had pursued with such fervor was now their undoing. As I turned away, I felt the weight of their disbelief lift from my shoulders, replaced by an unsettling calm. I had witnessed the power of knowledge, the burden of truth, and the cost of ignorance. The orchards had claimed their due, and I was no longer the girl who had fled into the night, but a survivor who had faced the darkness and emerged stronger. As I walked away, I glanced back one last time. The orchard stood silent again, but the roots writhed beneath the surface, forever hungry, forever waiting. My family's laughter had faded into screams, but they were no longer my concern. I had returned, not as a disgrace, but as a warning, a testament to the darkness that lies beneath and the price of mockery that no one could escape. In the distance, the trees whispered secrets only I could hear, and I knew my journey was far from over. The world had begun to understand, but I was their only hope against the horror that thrived beneath the surface, and I was ready.